As we all know, things have been fairly quiet for Animal Crossing players in the last few years. After all, Animal Crossing games take quite a while to come out, there's usually a decent gap between them. So aside from new collaborations and merch and celebrations and such, we haven't really seen too much in the games department for Animal Crossing. However, there is something very important happening next year in 2026 which could change all of that. And it does line up with several very important things. Also, drop a like on the video if you need a new Animal Crossing game at this point. Now, of course, we are in the era of Nintendo Switch 2 now, and with 2026 rapidly approaching, people are looking towards the next Animal Crossing game. We're in the sort of era where it's actually realistic now to believe we might see a new Animal Crossing sooner rather than later. Now, 2026 would make sense as a year for them to announce a new Animal Crossing game for several reasons, which I'm going to get into. But there's another reason why 2026 is such an important year for Animal Crossing that honestly, I think a lot of people haven't realized. The reason being that 2026 is the 25th anniversary of Animal Crossing. That's right, on April the 14th, 2001, Animal Crossing released for the first time ever in Japan on the Nintendo 64. Meaning from that date onwards, Animal Crossing will be celebrating an absolutely massive milestone anniversary that Nintendo is known to celebrate with other games. After all, just recently we got announcements for Mario's 40th anniversary, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to compare Animal Crossing to the success of Mario, but they have done it for smaller franchises too. And if you don't believe me, 5 years ago when we were still enjoying Animal Crossing updates, we actually got a celebration for the 20th anniversary of Animal Crossing in the form of this massive piece of artwork featuring characters from literally every Animal Crossing game, even really random obscure ones that a lot of people have forgotten about, proving conclusively that Nintendo does celebrate the history of Animal Crossing. Typically though, we know that 25th anniversaries are celebrated a lot more than 20th, so it would make sense for them to do something significant to celebrate this major milestone for Animal Crossing. Also, as a quick little aside, I found this post on Reddit from 5 years ago of when they released this poster, showing all of the characters that were actually available in New Horizons at the time. You can see how far we've come with the New Horizons updates because so many Animal Crossing characters were missing when this 20th anniversary was celebrated. I really hope the next game doesn't release with so many beloved characters absent, that would be really sad. So we're now in a new era for Nintendo, and Animal Crossing's major anniversary is coming up. So how could they celebrate it? Now, of course, the most obvious reason would be a brand new game, and I'm going to share some evidence as to why that is a genuine possibility, even though I know a lot of people sort of doubt about when an Animal Crossing game could come out. But I did briefly want to mention there is another possibility for how they could celebrate the 25th in a more sort of subtle way that would still be kind of cool, and that is of course releasing the original Animal Crossing game onto Nintendo Switch Online. We of course have GameCube for Nintendo Switch Online, so they very easily could release this on there for people to play and sort of go back to the original Animal Crossing. Now, strictly speaking, this isn't the Nintendo 64 version, this came out a bit later, but it is basically the same game as the N64 version with just a little bit more sort of content and things like that, so I think very easily they could justify releasing that at the same time. And I do find it very weird they didn't release this Animal Crossing game when they announced GameCube for Switch 2, so I feel like doing it for the 20th anniversary of the franchise would actually make a lot of sense, and that would be a cool way for them to celebrate it without committing to a totally new game at that point if they don't feel ready. But I do genuinely believe there's a good possibility that in 2026, we will see some kind of announcement for the next Animal Crossing game. Now, like a lot of you, I'm not so confident that a new Animal Crossing game will actually release in 2026. I think they're going to want a lot of time to sort of hype it up and such, so they could use a lot of time throughout 2026 to really get people excited for a new game. And I'm totally okay with that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not so impatient to actually play a new Animal Crossing game. I just want to hear that a new one is coming and maybe learn about some of the cool new things. I find that period of time so exciting where we can speculate and really get excited about what is possible for a new Animal Crossing. So I think an announcement definitely would be appropriate for 2026, and it would be incredibly exciting. And like I said, there is some evidence based on past patterns to suggest that this actually could happen. For example, the announcement for Animal Crossing New Horizons, which at the time was just being titled Animal Crossing Switch, came only a year after the Switch released. I've seen a lot of people recently saying, well, New Horizons came out sort of 3 years after the Nintendo Switch released, so that's much more likely as a date for this new Animal Crossing game to drop. But I don't really think that's the pattern people should be looking at. For a start, Animal Crossing New Horizons was delayed, so it was never intended by Nintendo, no pun intended, to come out in 2020 when it did. And based on past release dates for Animal Crossing games, there's no evidence to suggest that they do things 3 years after a console has launched. Regardless though, forgetting about the actual release date, it is a fact that New Horizons was announced to the player base just over a year after the original Nintendo Switch launched, which if we go into 2026, that definitely could be the same for the next Animal Crossing game. That would make me assume that the next Animal Crossing would probably release in 2027, maybe early sort of time. I could see it coming out in spring, just like New Horizons did, which definitely feels like a long wait at this point. But if we're getting announcements and trailers and teasers throughout 2026, then I think that could make the wait feel a lot less. It also gives people a lot more time to get a Nintendo Switch 2. Of course, it is a very expensive console, so not everyone has picked it up yet. I've seen a lot of people say that Nintendo would want to release something like Animal Crossing when console sales for the Switch 2 have sort of slowed down. And so sort of announcing it in 2026 when the momentum has dropped and releasing it in 2027 I think would make sense for that. So honestly, even if they just announce a new Animal Crossing game next year, I think that could be a good way for them to celebrate the 25th anniversary. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if they even paired that up with something like the release of the original Animal Crossing game on Nintendo Switch Online, so that we've got something to play whilst we wait, but then we can also look forward to the future as well. We've seen Nintendo do things like that before for other anniversaries where they sort of port older games over whilst we're waiting for the next big thing. So I honestly think that could work out really well in terms of keeping Animal Crossing fans excited for the future, whilst maintaining perhaps a more realistic release date at this point. So let me know in the comment section down below, how would you like to see Nintendo celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Animal Crossing series next year? There's so many ways they could do it. I would love to hear some of your ideas for what could be fun. If you made it to the end, be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below so I know you did. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe and turn on notifications for more.